Billowing black smoke fills the air, as do the Russian expletives. Let's get the hell out of here, this man shouts, as he watches an oil depot on fire in the Rostov region bordering Ukraine. Kyiv said they attacked the depot because it helps supply the needs of the Russian army. An army that continues its advance in Donetsk. The Russian military releasing this footage, claiming that they too have hit vital fuel and arms depots in Ukraine. Because this is a war all about attrition and attacking supply chains. Further north, in Russia's Kursk region, Ukraine continues its steady advance. This footage from the weekend shows the moment they damaged one of 3 bridges over the Siem River, hoping to stop Russian supply lines. In turn, overnight, the Russians hit an energy facility in Sumy over the border from Kursk, causing blackouts for thousands. No wonder then that this soldier, returning from Kursk, seems excited by the chance of Ukraine taking control of one of Russia's sources of energy. He says the battle is tough, but it's worth it because, quote, soon the Kursk nuclear power plant will be ours. The Kursk plant is just 37 miles from the Ukrainian border. Whether or not Kyiv sees it as a legitimate target, another nuclear power plant in the line of fire is an ominous sign. It was 9 days ago that a large fire was seen at the Zaporizhzhia power plant in Ukraine's southeast. It's been under the control of Moscow since March 2022, and Kyiv claimed it was the Russians who started the fire. And then this weekend, a drone strike hit a road nearby to the plant. This time, it was Russia blaming Ukraine. The International Atomic Energy Agency reiterated its call for maximum restraint from both sides. The risks of not doing so are obvious. Zaporizhzhia lies 300 miles from Chernobyl. For now, the immediate risk is for the civilians on the front line. In Kursk, more than 121,000 have fled the border region, with some taking refuge in sports halls like this one. And in the city of Pokrovsk in Donetsk, Ukrainians are also fleeing their homes as the Russians and the danger get ever closer.
The situation is difficult, very difficult. There are constant explosions, a lot of destruction around us, so it becomes more and more frightening to stay.
As more and more people take flight, just think how many more would be making these journeys if there was a nuclear disaster, on top of this war of attrition.
Well, here with me now is Rafael Grossi, who's Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency. Let's start with Zaporizhzhia, because earlier you said that safety was deteriorating there after this drone strike. How critical would you say it is?
Well, we could have a very serious situation any moment, because when you see the amount of military activity surrounding the plant, when you see, we were just watching in the introduction, the fire that occurred last Sunday, one of the cooling towers of the plant, you can see that it's not threat, things are happening. The physical integrity of the facility is being challenged. So this is why we say that what we see is a deterioration. The condition of the plant, I should say, is that it's not producing energy at the moment. It's in what in the jargon we call cold shutdown. But there's a lot of material there. There's a lot of nuclear material there. There's a lot of spent fuel there, fresh fuel. So things that, if impact, could trigger a release of radioactivity.
So the risk has been minimised, but it hasn't been removed, clearly.
Reduced.
In theory, another Chernobyl is possible?
Well,
or you
technically speaking, no, in the sense that what happened in Chernobyl was a combination, an explosion, and then the material there just blowing up in the air. Here, you have what is in the reactors is pretty much contained, but I would say, as I was just mentioning, you have all of this material around, and you could have a situation theoretically where, because of the loss of external power, which has occurred, we had 9 episodes of complete blackouts of the plant, so no cooling function. So if you lose all that, you could eventually have a meltdown.
So it's perilous, clearly. I wonder whether you think the risk of the Kursk plant, which, you know, has come about really because of Ukraine's incursion into Russia. Russia is now fortifying around that plant. I mean, is that potentially more risky because it's a much more volatile situation?
It's certainly serious, and we should take it very, very seriously. We are taking it, the agency at the IAEA, very, very seriously. This nuclear power plant is, I would say, within artillery range already. You have just informed that the incursion of the Ukrainian troops is, you know, a few miles, you know, a couple dozen kilometers into Russian territory, and just a few miles in kilometers is about between 20 and 30 kilometers from the plant itself. And there is a technical aspect here. You were just mentioning Chernobyl. The reactors here. You have 6 reactors in Kursk. You have 2 reactors that are being decommissioned. You have 2 reactors that are operating, no shutdown, operating. When you have you know, hot reactors, anything that could happen there could be maximized in this sense. And then 2 other units being built. The 2 reactors that are operating are of a type called RBMK, which is exactly the type of reactors, an old model type of reactor, was the one that, like the ones that were in Chernobyl. These reactors have a particularity. You know, normally when you look at a nuclear reactor, there's a dome. There is a concrete and metal protection. These 2 reactors don't have that, don't have any of that. The core of these reactors is open. It's like as if we were here and you could see the fuel elements there. So God forbid was the impact on the plant, we could have a very serious situation. So,
well, I mean, that's terrifying enough to hear you talk about that. But you know, there are other terrors out there in the world, namely Iran. Let's talk about the threat, the nuclear threat from Iran. How close do you think Iran is now, right now, to building a nuclear weapon?
Well, here we have to make a distinction, because what Iran has managed to have is the material that you would need, which is significant enough in terms of concern to manufacture a few nuclear weapons, but they don't have a nuclear weapon. To put together this and to do all the other things that you would require to have something that goes boom, there's a number of steps that should be taken. And the agency does not have any indication at the moment that they have reached that stage. But of course, there has been, you know, a progressive, I would say, rapprochement towards that capability, let's put it like that.
But I mean, you said a few months ago that they were, you saw signs of their intent of serious dialogue with you. I wondered if you'd progressed that since the election of the new president, because he's seen as a reformer.
We were, you know, this is a saga, and as Nordic sagas, this has lasted for so long. Actually, I had been visiting Tehran just a few weeks before the demise of the late Foreign Minister Amir Abdullahian. We had agreed on a number of things. Of course, happened what happened. And then, so we have to start, I wouldn't say from scratch, because we have an ongoing dialogue. The agency is there. We have exchanged messages with President Zelenskyy. I, of course, sent a message on the occasion of his inauguration, indicating already that it would be very important for me to come and talk to him. And he replied, agreeing for that. But so now we have to make it happen.
Right, but there's signs of optimism there.
Well, engagement and dialogue are indispensable. Yeah. And of course, with the surrounding situation in the Middle East, it is, I think, essential that we make sure that we do not have nuclear proliferation in Iran.
And, you know, when Donald Trump scrapped the Iran nuclear deal, Tehran responded by expanding its enrichment activities. I know you're a diplomat, but do you fear that a Trump presidency, another Trump presidency, might make your job more difficult? And, what would your advice to Kamala Harris be?
Well, two different scenarios, two different approaches. Of course, like you say, the previous Republican administration was very skeptical towards the philosophy behind this agreement, whereas President Biden and this administration were trying to, I would say, revive. Without success, we should say. At the moment, there is no conversation. The former, regrettably, you have to say it in this way, the former JCPOA partners that included Russia and China with the United Kingdom, with France, Germany, the United States, all of that has disintegrated. So
if Kamala Harris was elected, should she just go for a whole new nuclear deal with Iran?
I think there is a conviction that some framework must be constructed.
A new framework?
Perhaps a new, the label, frankly speaking, for me is not so relevant. You can call it JCPOA 8.2 or whatever. It is obvious that the Iran of 2024 has nothing to do with the Iran of 2015. Now the capabilities, the technical capacities, now they have centrifuges of last generation. They are much, far more developed than they used to be. So in any case, whatever agreement you will have to reckon with this change.
Rafael Grossi, I wish we had more time to talk, so much to talk about. Thank you very much for coming into the studio.